Well, I am very excited to be here with Steve from the Buzzcocks. Steve, thank you so much. I know you're very busy. You guys just got done performing an epic show, so I really appreciate you taking time to talk to us a little bit. What did you think of tonight's show? How was the energy? How were the fans?
Well, there was a lot of energy all around from the fans and the band.
Yep.
You get them two juxtaposed things, and in the middle, that's where the magic happens. The the interaction between the audience and the band, the nature of our music, that generates all that. That's where you see God, the devil, magic, and anything you want to see. It's that electricity of a live show.
It was definitely an electric show, and tonight was very special because you guys have a new album called The Way, and it's actually going to be digitally released on, let's see here, October 6th here in the U.S., and then November 18th on CD and LP. But one of the things that fans out there that might not have been to tonight's show missed out on is you guys actually had CDs for sale here for folks to actually pick up, which is very cool.
Yeah. I mean, it's sort of coming out slowly, I mean, we've it's kind of coming out in Britain a little earlier. It's just to do with pressing and organisation and stuff. But so we've been selling them on the stall, and quite a few folks knew some of the new stuff, which was great. I saw them singing along with it.
I was going to mention, I mean, some of the new songs tonight, the first single off the album, It's Not You, which Rolling Stone actually just posted a kind of a review of, a very positive kind of reference. Yeah. You guys also played The Way and some other tracks, and the audience really seemed to be vibing off of it tonight.
Oh, yeah, I mean, there's a great groove song called The Third Dimension on the album. I was playing the Rickenbacker, and anybody knows about Rickenbackers, in the studio I was striking the top part of the strings and the bottom part. Yeah. And we put that on in the middle of the thing, so it was a little bit of our experimentational roots, Yes. But you can't get more simple than striking the top of a guitar and the bottom, And that's like a true trait of Buzzcocks. It's like I found the simplicity in that,
Yes.
And it sounds great on the recorded thing, and that's called The Third Dimension. The track called Chasing Rainbows, People Are Strange Machines, as well as the other ones you mentioned. So there was 6 songs we did tonight, and they went down really well. They've been going down really well on the tour.
I noticed it. I mean, it really sounds like true, just kind of in the tradition of Buzzcocks. I mean, you guys going all the way back to 1976, pushing 40 years of performing. Back then, I mean, in the 70s, did you ever envision yourself here in the 21st century playing next to Pete on stage? I mean,
no, when we started, we thought if we get a gig in London and it lasts a couple of months or weeks, then that was the kind of job done, really. You never looked further than that, and we never have really. But I think it's our strength is the songs, and that's carried through. It's like Shakespeare. He wrote the plays, and people are still doing them now. So, it's a great compliment about the songs, and that keeps us. And as a band, I think we just get better and better. Definitely. I mean, when we was 20 years old when we started, you kind of thought, by the time you're 30, a lot of guys 30 in the early 70s looked like completely fucked and, looked like they shouldn't be, they're not going to make any much song. Amazing now with juices and superpower things.
That's true.
But also, I mean, it's also what's inside us, that kind of spirit about it, and the nature of the music. And I think, it's been me and Pete all the way. We've had a couple of different backing bass and drum, but that kind of spirit has seen us through. It's just like the nature of music. It kind of keeps you healthy in some way. It's like that's who we are,
Yeah, definitely.
It's what philosophers are going, what is this stuff inside you? Exactly. We're still trying to figure it out, but there's some stuff there that works.
The mortal coil, the ether, something like that. And Buzzcocks, I mean, your music, in my opinion, is timeless. I mean, no matter what your age, there's something that resonates there that's so unique, particularly going back in the 1970s when a lot of punk rock was political or it was making a stand against something. And a lot of people credit, the Buzzcocks with kind of an interjection of what later became, kind of this sort of pop punk or positive punk, not necessarily nihilistic punk rock.
Yeah, well, like on this new album, I say, there's lightness and there's darkness. There's always been out there. A song like Autonomy is like a political song of self-rule, but not necessarily a finger-pointing thing. We realise the world is a complex place. So, I mean, even Harmony in My Head was inspired by James Joyce's cinematic imagery. And Harmony in My Head goes down well. And Why She's a Girl from a Chainsaw was a sociological question. So there's a kind of politics, but it's more about the human condition,
Yeah.
And it's the politics involved in that,
Gotcha.
And there's the politics of love, but, because there's some songs that say they're love songs, but there's a lot more other things going on in there as well,
Well,
And
Steve,
so we cover a lot of ground, really.
you guys definitely do. And as you can see from my shirt here, I'm a big fan. I go to a lot of concerts. We interview a lot of musicians. One of the best concerts I've ever experienced was at Slow Brew in San Luis Obispo in early 2012. I saw you guys there, and you guys rocked the house. It was so amazing. To this day, I'm a DJ on a college radio station, and I still talk to people in the area, and they all remember, wow, when Buzzcocks came to San Luis Obispo. And just you guys are just amazing. I really respect you so much.
Well, yeah, that's a great compliment. And like I say, it's the nature of music, and when the crowd come, they kind of know what to expect, or they get involved in it, And I think we kind of touched on it, but it's not like we want them to watch us and be entertained or look at us.
Yeah.
As you notice, when I'm playing now, I'm looking at them going, well, what are you folks doing out there? And so that involvement breaks the ice. It cuts all the bullshit. And it's like, let's cut the crap. Let's get involved here,
Yeah.
And that makes people feel at home with it. And then we can get down with the issues of what we're dealing with, So
Definitely.
it's a great thing,
Yeah, well, Steve, one other question I had for you is we are coming up on sadly, the 10th anniversary of the passing of John Peel, one of, in my opinion, the greatest DJs of all time. And I know you guys did some Peel sessions back in the day, and Pete actually did, I think in 2005, kind of a celebration for John Peel, along with a bunch of other artists, Elton John, couple folks. But what was it like, meeting John Peel, performing, doing some Peel sessions? What was that like?
Well, that was great because, even before the Buzzcocks, John Peel was doing his show.
Yeah.
And you'd hear the most obscure things. He'd put whatever he wanted on that show, So it opened your mind to a lot of music, experimental music, all kinds of music.
Yeah.
Some of the worst music, and he'd probably admit that you ever heard and shouldn't hear, and some of the greatest things.
Yeah.
But you knew from that show you was getting this massive spectrum of things, So that was very inspirational, And then when we went on and did the sessions, there used to be some LPs out there, the John Peel sessions.
Of course, yeah.
And there's some specific Buzzcocks ones of that.
Yes.
But always on that show, if we had like a couple of songs worked out, or singles or album tracks, we always did a track, at least one track, that we'd kind of rehearsed but wasn't quite finished.
Yeah.
I think one of them was moving away from the pulse beat, and I do all the guitar work, the riffs and that.
Yes.
But I can hear myself on that, still figuring it out. And that was one of the greatest things. It's like, you're making this recording, and you can go in and it's still not quite finished, It's like a bit more freeform. And that was taking the spirit of the show, I thought,
Definitely.
And I can hear myself going up and down, like still figuring out that thing.
Yeah.
By the time we come and record that song, I had all the solo riffs sorted out.
Yeah.
But it's so great to be able to go on that show and thinking, you know what, it doesn't matter on there.
Yeah.
And so you also see another side of things with this band, the Buzzcocks,
Yeah.
and other bands,
Definitely. And definitely an organic aspect to recording in the studio without a lot of production, and it really captures kind of the spirit of the band. I actually host a radio show called 80s Inner Edge, featuring UK and American indie and college rock, and I try to kind of bring that spirit of what things were like in the 80s.
Yeah.
And what's interesting is I've been promoting your guys' shows, actually. I'm a huge fan, and one of the songs that I play a lot. It's actually one of my favorite Buzzcocks songs, and word on the street is you guys don't perform this too much live, but it is the song "Running Free" off of this single right here. Right. And is there a reason why I may be mistaken in the fact that you guys maybe you do play it sometimes,
It's
but
been a while, but we used to play it here and there, and we should bring that back because a lot of people do love that song. And
I love it. It's actually a song that I play regularly on my show, partially because it's one of the, you guys didn't have a lot of stuff in the 1980s, very prolific in the late 70s. But it's interesting because I play it probably at least every other show that I do. And I've had a number of calls, people listening, calling in, and they're like, that's the Buzzcocks? Yeah. And I explain, that later era, in the early 80s, Buzzcocks, just that range and that kind of experimentation that you and Pete did is just so impressive. And so many people are just, I've had so much feedback about that song, and it's one of my favorite songs, and I have this single here. So maybe in future concerts, we might be looking forward to seeing it.
Every now and again, I think, and some friends of mine really like that song.
Yeah.
And part of the story with that song, I went to like a second-hand shop, and I bought an old keyboard for £100.
Okay.
And that old keyboard's on there with a lot of echo and stuff. So you get them lovely sounds. And I worked out 3 parts of that.
Yeah.
It's like that, and all that, and then it's a guitar. So there's some great arrangements going on there. And I was hoping we'd do a bit more of that stuff. You see, with that whole 6 songs, we were starting to get into more experimental things.
Yes.
And there's still a lot about this band that is still not used yet, that needs to be unearthed, and that song is an example of that.
I think so, and that would result in kind of the introduction of keyboards on stage, which your set tonight, didn't really have that represented, but maybe in future shows that might be something we can look forward to.
Absolutely, I mean, we've played it live without the keyboards, and it does work. That sort of side of it, like I was saying on the new album, the Third Dimension is a little bit more experimental, or like it's in a groove way, and like I was saying about the noises from the guitar. Definitely. So there's always that element to the Buzzcocks that should be brought out more. It's the same as Why Can't I Touch It? That's a groove. And it's usually me that instigates those, because that was my chord thing of going, let's do a groove, let's do that one, let's do Autonomy in the early days. That was a kind of Krautrock influence kind of thing.
Definitely.
Because we're very good at the linear things, the straight ahead pop song thing. But the other side's just more interesting, and I'm glad you point that out, because some people forget that, because singles going steady is like,
that's kind of what most people buy. I mean, that's the album. If you say to somebody, what should I get for Buzzcocks? Singles going to steady is a good answer, but there's a lot more than that.
Yeah. And I'm glad I should say this more in interviews, but you're asking me that, which is good.
I am.
Because I think that's a very important side to the band, like you say. And on each album, we've gone off on little avenues here and there. And that should be noted more, because just the straight pop thing, it's like the band's a lot more than that. And,
well, I think what's interesting is that, the compilation of, a different kind of tension, parts 1, 2, and 3, which is a collection of different single LPs. Parts 1 and 3, I guess, here on this, is one of my favorites, actually, more so than Singles Going Steady, because I saw an experimentation, a willingness to kind of expand. And back in the late 70s, early 80s, I would imagine that for you guys, maybe you got some flack from the hardcore, like, punk rockers that thought that you were moving on to a new genre.
With us is the record companies that weren't moving on. It was like they're going, we don't hear a hit. It's like these are catchy songs, but they ain't the hits. We wanted to move on, and we was on EMI Records, and they're like, we had a little problem with that, because we recorded 6 songs, and we also said there's no A side or B side with them. So that was experimental in itself, as well as all the songs,
Definitely.
But you start doing that, it was the beginning of that corporate H's.
Yes, definitely.
And they're going, we want to hear those other hits you had before. But we always stuck to our guns, and we kind of go, well, see you later, we're sticking to our guns. And the thing is, the groundswell of us, like doing the tours, we've got the people on our side that vote with their feet.
Oh, yeah.
We don't need the big billboards saying, like, you must buy the Kellogg's cornflakes, the soap powder, We ain't selling soap powder. We're selling fucking human fucking feelings, you know what I mean? We're selling things in the soul. And And people know that, and that's why we're still around, I think, you know.
I think so too as well. And you, both you and Pete, again, just your musicianship, your exploratory, your willingness to experiment. I mean, Pete, of course, going on and doing some solo stuff, very different from in Homo Sapien, XL1, a lot of stuff, and I've been.
The band Flag of Convenience, you can get it on Cherry Red Records, the best of. And I did a lot of experimental stuff on that, you know.
Definitely.
In fact, I signed a deal with Sire at the time, and I made like an 80s type of guitar thing called Life on the Telephone. And I had a big meeting with Seymour Stein. He said, I've just signed this chick, Madonna, you know.
Okay.
I said, I've done the pop record. I want to call the album The Accused. And he's going, that's a bit ominous.
Okay.
And we parted company on that because I said, I want to sound more like the fucking Stooges now. But it was the 80s when all that other stuff was coming.
Yeah.
So you had to ride through all that kind of thing,
Yeah.
But the thing is, if you stick to your guns, you know, I didn't want to be on top of the pops with one finger pressing a computer, you know what I mean? So it's a tough road in that, but I think people have respected that about us over the years. You know, we don't want much from the fans, we just want them to like the music.
Yeah.
But it's that one, it's like Picasso, you make the painting and make what you will of it, you know.
Yes.
But in order to keep that, you've got to maintain who you are, you know.
Definitely. And Steve, I see a lot of shows. I play a lot of music on my radio show that I have. We've done a lot of interviews with folks. We've interviewed Devo, Colin Hay from Men at Work, so many people. But I have to say that this is one of the most. I don't know what to say, really. I'm speechless, actually, because you guys are so amazing. You're one of my favorite bands of all time. And I really respect and appreciate you kind of sharing your opinion and your take on things with us tonight. So thank you so much.
It's an absolute pleasure, you know. I mean, we need people like you, you know. I mean, we're still into it for the music and the industrial thing of playing live everywhere, you know. And that's very important to us. It's why we got into it as a kid. It's not to be famous. It wasn't anything to do with all that. It's like this thing expands your mind. It's a holy thing in a lot of ways. You know, it's a magical thing.
Yeah.
And as you're speaking about the college radio and everything else, it's so important. The trouble is, when that Steve Jobs came along, God bless him, he fucking ruined it by giving fucking music away for nothing, you know.
Yeah, the iTunes and the digital downloads. And your guys' new album is going to be available on digital download, but I reckon that you, as a musician, if you had a preference of format, digital download, CD, vinyl, tape, cassette, what kind of format do you prefer as a musician for your music to be listened to?
The new album is coming out on cassette. I've still got every demo on cassette I've ever done, and every cassette I bought, you know. But it is coming out on cassette as well. Okay. And to be honest, there's quite a few orders for the cassette, which is great. Yeah. I think that's a bit of fun in this day and age, obviously, and people can't, you've got to put it on the download, you know. Yeah. But it's people buying the vinyl because they want to see something, you know. Yeah. And the vinyl's flying, all the vinyl was selling in the stores is flying off the shelves, you know.
It is. And the album art,
I underestimate people.
Yeah.
All this fucking demographic and research and all that. They say about us, an old band, 2/3 of the audience are young kids that come, you know, on a worldwide basis. So Buzzcocks are still relevant, but we defy statistics and all that, you know. It's like statistics ain't the fucking law, really, you know what I mean? Yeah. And that's another problem. But we broke through the barrier of that, as well.
You guys definitely did.
But when we're at Buzzcocks, the magic is between me and Pete there. We're two polar opposites. Yeah. And when them two guitars get together, it's like two grindstones that cause sparks, you know. Yes. And that's where the magic is, you know.
Indoor fireworks, or as Elvis Costello said. Yeah.
Wonderful. And like I said before, we're like two mountain climbers tied with a rope. If one falls off, then the other does, you know.
There you go.
But that's why that magic is. When we split up and we got back, you realise what you had, you know.
Yes. Very symbiotic, the yin and the yang, so to speak, of the Buzzcocks. Here, straight from Steve. You guys heard it first. Well, again, we want to give a reference and a promotion for the new album. Very excited. The Way, coming out in digital download on, let's see here, October 6th here in the States, and on CD, LP, and you heard it here first, cassette on November 18th. Thank you so much, Steve, for being with us here today.
Absolute pleasure, yeah. Keep rocking, and thanks for the important questions for once, yeah?
Thanks so much for your time. Thank you.